about the big news out of college football today? This is related to the Commanders. UCLA has fired Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. Now, there's some terminology differences depending on where you look at the reporting. Parting ways with. Fired was the original phrase. Obviously, Bieniemy's camp's now putting out the word that they're mutually agreeing to go their separate ways. But the initial report 2 hours ago was that he was fired after UCLA had just a brutal offensive season under his watch. They ranked 126th in scoring offense in the nation, 18.4 points per game. They ranked 117th in yards per game, and those ranks are out of 134 teams.
Golly. I mean, can you imagine? Like, listen, I couldn't tell you what kind of talent UCLA has this year versus, USC or anything else, but that doesn't sound real good, does it?
You mean the 117th ranked?
Yeah.
Yards?
There's a 1 in front of it. It's not like a 10 or 11 either. It's 100 something. God, that's bad.
So Bieniemy has gone from, in the span of a couple of years ago, after having been interviewed by half of the National Football League's teams, the next head coach in waiting for the Chiefs, a guy that was being passed over and everyone who didn't hire him was mean and wrong and terrible. Everyone who said, are we sure he's a great head coaching candidate? To getting a job in Washington with the Commanders. And this is what I said about the job he got here last year. It was the last OC job to be filled. No other team offered him a offensive coordinating and play calling job. Not one. The job he took here, I don't think coincidentally, with Ron Rivera, is a gig where Rivera is very, very close with Andy Reid. Andy Reid, we know, spoke to and counseled Ron Rivera about bringing in Eric Bieniemy before he did. That was something that Rivera would talk about from time to time. So you've got a head coach in Reid that, by way of his relationship with Rivera, helps Bieniemy basically get placed in Washington to be the offensive coordinator. And part of the excitement, it's not like I never thought it could work. It's not like I didn't see some of the upside, is that this guy came over here with Super Bowl rings. A guy that had been to Super Bowls and won AFC division championships and conference championships and hardware, and was a part of an offense that had been a juggernaut in Kansas City. Maybe it rubbed off on him. Maybe he had something to do with it. At one point last year, which is so funny now to think about, because they won the Super Bowl since, and they're the best team in the AFC right now. But people were saying, they're missing something without Bieniemy. I think they really miss not having him around. But he gets this OC job after the Ravens said, no, we're good. And the other teams he interviewed for that job with said, no, thank you. He lasts one season here. I get it. Ron Rivera got fired, but they didn't try to keep him here. They didn't try to bring him back. I'm not even sure if he would have been back if Ron Rivera stayed. But the other thing to remember, Danny, and nobody wanted to hear this last year, was I don't think he would have been in Kansas City if he wasn't in Washington. If the Commanders, for whatever reason, didn't hire him as the final team to hire an OC, that was the 32nd one hired, I don't think they would have brought him back. They had Matt Nagy, who they were elevating. They felt like they were in a good place. Reid was trying to find him a home outside of the organization. They have a good relationship, but they were moving on from Bieniemy. Why? I don't know. And now he takes the job at UCLA, and after one season, he is out at UCLA after they were one of the 15 worst offenses out of 134 in America.
What a precipitous fall. And by the way, Juan Castillo, former Washington assistant, also isn't coming back there at UCLA. Just tells you, again, a precipitous fall for that guy, too. At one point, I think was the defensive coordinator in Philadelphia, and like an up-and-coming star.
15 years ago.
Yeah, and now it's just,
well, he was like I don't even know where he was recently, out of ball or whatever, and was just another one of the Rivera buddies that got the call to come help out last year.
Coaching tight ends here.
By the way, how about that staff?
Yeah. I was looking for the opposite of the Shanahan staff. Can you find me one?
Give all of the credit in the world to Dan Quinn for the staff he assembled.
Here.
What a night and day difference this operation is in terms of, if for whatever reason all of these coaches were available tomorrow, where they would end up, how quickly they would get jobs. Cliff Kingsbury sought after as an OC. Joe Witt would get a DC job, I think, in a cycle this offseason. so many of these position coaches would get lateral opportunities. Some might get elevated. Just what a difference. It's almost like it's crazy that they're a way better football team, despite not being over-talented at this point.
Without a doubt. So, I mean, going back to the hiring cycle, if you remember, when they were waiting forever to find the OC after they finally let Scott Turner go, et cetera. And it was basically like Ken Zampese or bust. You remember that? It was going to be like an internal promotional hire, and it's just like, let's just do more of the same, unimaginative, very much in the box kind of hire so Ron Rivera could walk down and bully the guy, right? In case you wanted to throw a forward pass, Ron's going to say, we're not going to do that. We're really not, okay? We're going to establish the run for 7 quarters. And if we run out of time, we'll establish it in the parking lot, okay? We really will. So it was so unexciting. A guy with that pedigree who had been up for head coaching positions, he'd interviewed. A lot of guys don't get interviews. He was interviewing everywhere. And I know that, whatever the narrative was about that, but still, that's a pretty elevated, big name guy to come be your offensive coordinator. I understand the circumstances. If everything was normal, he wouldn't have been available and he'd probably be somewhere else, but it wasn't normal. And here we are. I thought it was a coup. I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong about anything, by the way. I thought this was going to be the only transformative thing that Rivera was finally able to do instead of just a bunch of buddies from Carolina. This was an actual championship pedigree and not just, mean words or not mean words, fun slogans to wear on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. I was like, this dude is it. I'm so excited about this. And man, I couldn't have been more wrong about it. What a precipitous fall from probably should have been a head coach several times over to one and done at UCLA. Now his agent is out saying, like, no, it's always been planned that he would go back to the NFL.
Let me read this.
Are you sure about that?
Let me read this.
You sure he's going back to the NFL?
This one's good. So this is from Bieniemy's agent, Jason Fletcher, which, by the way, Adam Schefter just pasted the statement on his Instagram account. But listen to this. Statement from Bieniemy's agent, Jason Fletcher. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways today as previously planned. He is still getting paid by the Commanders. After interviewing for head coaching jobs last year, he wanted to stay active and busy. So he decided to go help out Deshaun Foster, who's like his little brother, at UCLA as opposed to sitting out a year. The plan was always to return to the NFL in 2025, and he's looking forward to the opportunities ahead. That's one of the funnier statements I've heard in a long time.
Well, I actually have a statement. I mutually bombed at my stand-up show this past Saturday. Mutual. We did it together. It was always part of the plan. Ask my girlfriend in college, Allie. Mutual. I didn't get dumped on my ass. She didn't hook up with one of my teammates. No. It was mutual.
Danny Routier?
That's me, Chuck. Love you, buddy.
I mean, this statement's incredible.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that I love about it. But it to me, it reeks of I just got dumped.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm texting you back to go, well, you can't dump me because I've already decided I didn't want to be in this relationship anyway.
No, too late. You can't say dumped. I already broke up with you. Come on.
All the reporters use the word fired today.
Yeah.
Or parted ways, which is a nice way to say fired. UCLA is parted ways with. That's what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they're wrong, okay? Listen to this statement. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways. That does mean, by the way, if they mutually parted ways, that they are interested in him not being there anymore. So even that is not the flex that you think it is.
Thank God you said that. Right. We don't want you back either.
Best case scenario, the college you were at for 1 year after the NFL said, no, thank you. Because you're not in college. Well, I guess we could get to that later. He's in college because he's a nice guy helping out his little brother, I guess.
Helping out his buddy.
He didn't have to do that. He had a lot of interest in the NFL. But we'll continue. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways. So you guys heard all day he got fired. He didn't actually get fired. That's number one. Then this statement has nothing to do with the rest of the statement. This sentence is so irrelevant to everything else. It being involved is hilarious. He's still getting paid by the Commanders. If you take that sentence out, nothing changes. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways today as previously planned. After interviewing for head coaching jobs last year, he wanted to stay active and busy, so he decided to go help out Deshaun Foster. It explains why he went to UCLA. Why are they saying at all that he's still being paid by the Commanders? That has nothing to do with this statement about UCLA
It's an attempt to remind you, like, we should all be so lucky to fail like this, huh? Like again, it's a flex attempt. I don't.
That's my point.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It is, but it is comical. It's like a guy bragging about how much beer he drank when he doesn't realize, like, none of us care, bro.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's just so, this is embarrassing to me.
It's like, I know I got broken up with, but I've been on so many Tinder dates.
You ever just,
Nobody asked,
there's
man.
a friend in the group who everyone's just kind of chilling, you know, you're sitting there and he's like, hey, I tell you guys, I got a raise the other day. It's like, oh, this guy sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of guy who just wants to start bragging about something like, oh, so you're the one in the group that's horrendous and awful. Okay, cool. So Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways. I don't believe you, but that's fine. The next sentence, he's still getting paid by the Commanders. What is the point of saying that? Is the point that, you know, other than what you just said, which is correct, we know why they're doing it. It's a flex.
Right.
But in the context of the statement, that's not what they're trying to do. So are they saying that because they're saying, well, he doesn't need to work right now, so he's fine leaving UCLA because he's still getting money?
That's the implication, right? He was literally just doing a favor. He went, like, Deshaun Foster was like, please help me.
Well,
and
then it's
Eric
in the
was
wrong
like,
part
fine.
of the statement. Then the next sentence should have been, after interviewing for the head coaching job last year, he wanted to stay active and busy, so he decided to help out Deshaun Foster, who's like his little brother at UCLA, as opposed to sitting out a year. The plan was always to return to the NFL in 2025, and he's looking forward to the opportunities ahead. Then why even place the sentence where you did? It was like, think about UCLA, think about UCLA. By the way, the Commanders still paying money. I hope you guys know that. Think about UCLA, think about UCLA. It just doesn't make any sense.
They can still bench 300 pounds. He can still throw football over the mountains.
If you take a highlighter to every sentence, and you have a yellow highlighter for all the things that have anything to do with today's dismissal, firing, parting of ways, and you highlight all those, there's one sentence left out that is not highlighted. And that sentence reads, he's still getting paid by the Commanders.
In addition.
It just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Why they did it is obvious.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I guys got a raise, right? You guys know I'm like in charge.
Did I tell you about my new office?
You guys know I got a corner office now. 12 people work for me, right? I'm awesome. That's what that is.
Yes, it is.
It's the guy that sucks at the party. But why is it in the statement?
It's in the statement.
This just reads like a amateur hour statement, in my opinion. But let's go past the part that I'll never be able to get past. After interviewing for head coaching jobs last year. What head coaching jobs?
Which ones were those?
Now, I guess he's talking about college jobs, right?
Well, I don't know. Did he interview technically in Washington?
Oh.
Did he get an interview here?
Good point.
I think he did, right?
Yes, he did. He got the cursory, you're still on the staff interview, which was not a real interview. I mean, it may have been a real interview to them.
Sure.
But I got news for everyone. Eric Bieniemy was never going to be the head coach.
Now, was that after interviewing for head coaching job or jobs? See, they said jobs.
Do some digging on that for us, please. What jobs did Eric Bieniemy interview for head coaching this past offseason? I'm guessing he interviewed for a college job as well. I'd have to look that up, but that would be my guess.
Okay.
I don't believe there was a second head coaching job. Let's say there was, just fine. The Washington job, might as well do the interview, add it to the list, but you're not getting that gig, obviously. They're moving on. He decided to go help out Deshaun Foster, who's like his little brother at UCLA, as opposed to sitting out for the year. I don't think that's the craziest thing ever. He played for him at UCLA when he was like the running backs coach, maybe the court. I think he was more RB's coach then. Logan Paulsen was a tight end on the team at that point. Maybe Deshaun Foster goes, hey, I need you, man. I don't have enough experience around. I just want someone in here. Come here for a year. That's not how it was billed when he went there. Why wouldn't you have said that somewhere along the way? No, we wouldn't have found that out today. And what is what is with the imminent nature of the hour the season's over and coaches start bailing or leaving or getting fired or whatever? There's no rush. You don't need to help out your little brother for this week. Watch the film, go back and do some breakdowns on what went wrong. It's over that quickly.
Yeah. Time to get out.
Why the report that he was fired? By so many places.
Because that's what happened?
117th, 118th out of 135 teams in yards and points. So how do we explain that away? Let's say that this was the plan the whole time. I'm going to college for a year. I'm going to help out my little brother. Then I'm going to go back to the NFL. All right, well, last year, It went really poorly offensively. A coach got fired that brought you in and hoped that you could save his bacon. A quarterback got traded that you were trying to develop into a franchise QB, who's been a backup all year. Then you go to college and you're a bottom 20 offense in the entire nation. There's no explaining away the results.
Yes,
Really.
the only
post
way
Andy Reid resume is a disaster.
the only way that I would believe any of this, to be honest with you, is if this was like there's a joint statement going, this was always going to be for 1 year. I really wanted Eric's input. I wanted this set of eyes. I wanted his
Maybe
maturity
they
and
can
attitude
get
or whatever.
Foster to put that out if they actually have a really good relationship still. I mean, I imagine they do. Again, he coached him and then he worked for him. So that phone call happens where he's like, buddy, let's get together. So yeah, if this was a joint statement, I still wouldn't believe it. But at least I could go,
Okay, there's some plausible deniability here.
UCLA is at least making it look good on the up and up. Like Washington did, frankly.
Yeah.
They interviewed him for the head coaching role and they said he had a great interview and we considered him. You didn't, but it was a nice thing for Adam.
Right,
Peters
thank you for
to
saying
say.
that.
UCLA could have done the same thing, and maybe they eventually will. But right now, it's just his agent. It's just amazing to me because for so many years, like if you didn't think Eric Bieniemy was getting screwed out of head coaching jobs, how dare you? And now he's gone from no one hired him as an OC. Reed gets him on the Washington staff with Rivera, helps in that relationship. Again, I was told all along he wasn't going to be in Kansas City, if not Washington. Might have been out of the league last year. To then, there's no NFL gig for him last offseason, so he's at UCLA. It goes horrendously statistically. And now what? What'd you find, Eris?
So we're just talking about this past offseason, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I believe he has 16 overall interviews for head coaching jobs. But the last couple of years, the well has dried up. And only Washington that we know of last offseason.
That is the only interview that I can find is that he interviewed with the Commanders for the head coaching position before Dan.
But
Quinn
the
got
statement
job.
reads that he interviewed plurally.
There's an S right on the end there. You could see it.
Jobs, plural. What do you think Eric Bieniemy is doing next offseason or next football season? Do you think he's an OC in the NFL?
This reeks of XFL to me.
Oh, man. United Football League, I'd be steamed up. If Eric Bieniemy was the head coach of the DC Defenders, that's not true. I like Reggie Barlow. Let's say he was the OC for Reggie Barlow's DC Defenders. I think I'd be fired up for that. Let's sling the football.
You want to see some passing?
Let's sling that ball. I think I'd get behind that. UFL's the next stop.
That's what it feels like to me.
I think he'll be back on the chief staff.
That's probably the most likely.
I'm going to say offensive. I don't know what word they'll use.
Pass game coordinator.
Kind of like that. I'm thinking there's a word that isn't coming to me. It's like the extra set of eyes. Advisor. Offensive advisor. Basically means it's my friend that I'm paying. And then you bring him in, and then people will say for a couple of years that how dare no one hire him?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the Leo pointing at the meme to Washington. Like he walks away, he's the Joker, like skipping away from the hospital, burning behind him. Remember that meme?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like the Joker doing the weird walk. That's Eric Bieniemy and like UCLA's offense, right? Just left in shambles. They got work to do without him.